Hey there, bonjour à tous. Welcome to the Totally First Crochet channel. Today again from the beach. So before starting this holiday, I thought about how can I make something that I can use when I'm on the go and I want to crochet, that I can wear over my wrist or my shoulders and where I can easily feed the yarn from. So I came up with this super fabulous yarn holder, yarn feeder bag with a super cute tulip pattern, and I was happy to finish it during my holidays. And of course I had to show it to you. Unfortunately my holidays are almost over, but with that I always have something for the next holidays and all my other crochet in places videos where I might need this. Overall, this is such a helpful bag, especially when you crochet like me on the go, everywhere you are, so you can always have it. You can even use it at home and hang it somewhere. That's absolutely okay as well. So the main part of this yarn holder, yarn feeder bag is made with the waistcoat stitch. Of course, you can do it with knitting or nuking. I just thought the waistcoat stitch was such a great stitch for this pattern because it's a bit thicker and a bit more stable to keep its shape. So you will of course get a PDF in the description where you get like the full description and the tulip pattern. But of course that's not all. You should know me by now because there are also some additional patterns with flowers, with a little yellow duck, with hearts, just something that you could use for your projects, maybe for your own super cute yarn bag. So here are all the features of this beautiful super cute yarn holder bag. First up, I made two handles, one short one so I can wear it on my wrist and then work from there. Then a longer handle to wear it over the shoulder and then take my yarn from there. Then you have lots of different holes in there where you can pull the yarn through, like here in the bottom to feed the yarn. Then you have holes in the sides so you can feed the yarn from there. And of course you can get it from the top, but I think I don't have to show this. Besides the waistcoat stitch, you will also learn how to make a granny circle for the bottom. You will learn to make the crab stitch. You will learn how to add D-rings and lobster locks so you can attach and detach the handles. And the handles are something special. They are made with Tunisian crochet using the Eckard stitch, made famous by my friend Heather. Hi Heather. So check out her tutorial on how to make the Eckard stitch. But of course I will also show it to you. It creates these super beautiful, super patterned handles that are absolutely amazing. I absolutely love them. But don't worry, this tutorial turned out a bit longer because of all the features. But of course you can skip to the parts that you want to see and then later on adapt it to your projects. So, are you ready for another beach crochet project with me? Let's go! So to create such a beautiful tulip yarn holder bag, you would need the following. First, make sure to download the PDF in the description where you will find the pattern for the tulips. You will also get some written instruction in the lower part, just in case you don't want to follow the video, but it definitely makes sense to watch the video because I won't go too much into detail and I think it's always easier to see things. And in the second page, you will get some bonus patterns that you can use for maybe a second yarn bag or a regular bag. And you can do so many things with those, just like I did it with the previous PDFs for the waistcoat stitch. And there was a question or a request about boot cuffs with a yellow duck for the rainy days, and here's the duck, and then you can create yourself your own boot cuffs. So just feel free to use them for whatever project you like. You can of course also use those patterns with knitting or nuking just as you wish, but for this tutorial it's going to be all about the tulips. As a yarn you would need 2 colors, and I'm going to choose the Twister Solid XL from Hobby with those 2 colors. I think this was called Red and this was called Iceberg. I think they look super pretty together. And then of course the red will be for my tulips and the rest will be in the lighter blue. For the handles or for the straps, I'm going to make a pattern with the 2 colors together. As a crochet hook, I'm going to use actually 2 hook sizes. The first one is a 4mm that I'm going to use basically for the bottom of my bag. And then for the waistcoat part, I'm going to use a 4.5mm hook. Mainly because the waistcoat stitch is a bit wider and it's always good to have like a little bit of space to get like those loops in between the 2 vertical bars, and this is why I chose a 4.5mm hook, but feel free, test it out, really depending on your yarn. And here they even say that you would need a 5.5mm hook, which I think is just a bit too big. Maybe if you use this yarn for something to wear, like a sweater or something like this, because the size of the yarn is pretty much like a DK cotton. Speaking of cotton, this is also a cotton mix. It has 55% cotton and 45% acrylic, so it's quite soft, but it's still like, but it feels a lot like a cotton texture. So when you choose a yarn, make sure that you have a yarn that's really clean. You definitely don't want to have like a fuzzy yarn for this. So this just as a reference. Then of course some scissors, then the yarn needle, and for my straps I'm actually going to use these lobster locks and D-rings that I got from Amazon. So later on I only have to like crochet the straps or the handles onto those rings and then attach everything to the bag, which I'm going to show you also in this tutorial. And with that, we are good to go. The pattern we need later on, so I'll put that aside. And I'm going to start with the iceberg, the light blue color. And first I'm going to find my easy start label right here. So the bottom of the yarn bag is basically the granny square in the round, which is something I haven't shown on my channel yet, so it's like a perfect addition. And the reason why I chose this is that you get like the typical granny square holes, and afterwards you can, of course, since this is a yarn holder or yarn feeder bag, you can then put the yarn through and then use this as a yarn feeder, just like you would know it from yarn bowls. So you have some spaces and some holes there just to take the yarn through. And it's a pretty simple bottom with 5 rounds. First we start with a magic ring, and I always do them the same way. I do as if I would do a slip knot, and then I leave my finger in here before closing it. Then I put the end through just like this. Then I can close it, and here we go. The magic ring is done, and we can then start with our first granny round basically. And we start with a fake double crochet. So we go into the ring, grab the yarn, pull it through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops as if we would do a single crochet. Then we take the front bar, yarn over, pull it through 2 loops again, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops to have our fake double crochet, which of course stands for a regular double crochet. And now we chain 1, and then we do 7 more double crochets, and always separated with a chain 1. So yarn over, go in the ring, pull the yarn through 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and chain 1. And after that the same thing 6 more times. So double crochet, chain 1, all the way until we have 8 double crochets in our magic ring. So now I have 8, and I can then start closing the magic ring. And now we are going to close the round, and we are closing the round with a single crochet in the top of our fake double crochet. So we go into the top of our fake double crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, because that gives us a little bit of space that is quite similar to the chain 1 spaces that we have. And with that, round number 1 is done, and we can continue with round number 2. And round number 2 is pretty simple if you're familiar with granny squares, because we are going to make granny clusters of 3 stitches into each of those spaces. And the first one is of course a little bit different because we start with a fake double crochet again. So we go into the space, grab the yarn, pull it through, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops, and then grab that front loop and pull it through to have a fake double crochet. And then to finish the cluster of 3 stitches, we make 2 more double crochets into the same space. So now I have my 3, and without chaining we are going directly into the next space, and from there we continue all the way, always 3 double crochets into each of the spaces. And here we go. And here you can now also see the holes in between where you can later on use to feed the yarn. And since we haven't had any chain 1s in between here, we are going to finish the round just with a slip stitch into the top of our first fake double crochet. And with that, round number 2 is done, and we can continue with round number 3. And for round number 3, we first start in the same stitch with a fake double crochet, just like we did it before. Then we are going to make another double crochet into the same stitch or into the same space. And now we are working in between our granny clusters. In between each of those spaces, we are going to make the same sequence. So first up, we make 2 double crochets. You don't need to chain anything here. We just go into the first space in between granny clusters and make 2 double crochets. Then we chain 1, and then we make 2 more double crochets. So in between each of the granny square clusters, we make 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets all the way through. and from here we go directly to the next space all the way. And now we are at our last space, and we already made the first 2 stitches, so we can make 2 more double crochets. And instead of chaining 1 and then slip stitching through the top of our fake double crochet, we are just going to make a single crochet in the top to stay in the center of this space. And this was round number 3. Don't worry if this now looks like an octagon. This is absolutely correct. Later on it will be completely circle. But just in case you always wondered how to make an octagonal shape, here we go. And we continue with round number 4. And round number 4 is going to be super easy again for granny square lovers, because we are going to make granny clusters in each of our spaces, the spaces in between the two and where we had the chain 1. And we can start directly in this first space with, of course, the fake double crochet, and then 2 more double crochets to have our first cluster. And then without chaining, we go directly into our next space to make 3 double crochets. And then we have the space here in between our clusters of 2, and we just continue with our 3 double crochets all the way through. And here we go. Here's how it looks so far. And to finish the round, we just make a slip stitch in the top of our fake double crochet. And with that, round number 4 is done, and we can then continue with round number 5. And for round number 5, we are going to crochet double crochets into each of our stitches, and in addition we will also put a 4th double crochet in between our granny clusters. So we go into the first stitch again and start with a fake double crochet in there like that, and then we have our second double crochet and a third double crochet. So you can always count that you have like the 3 on top of the 3 from the granny cluster, and then we go in between the space and make a 4th double crochet, and from there we then continue making double crochets in the top of each of the stitches plus the 16 spaces in between, so that after this round we are going to have a stitch count of 64 stitches. And here we are. Our bottom part is almost done. We just now have to slip stitch through the top of our first fake double crochet like that. And now I'm going to add a little border around it before we then basically go up this direction. And the border that I'm going to make is with the crab stitch. If you're not familiar with the crab stitch, I think I showed it in a previous video, but I'm going to show it to you here as well. It's basically single crocheting, but in the reverse way. So instead of like continuing like we did it before, And for that we are going backwards, like the other direction. And in addition, we are only going to use the front loops and not the back loops. The back loops will then later on be used for our waistcoat stitch. And now let's start with the crab stitch, and we basically go back into the front loop only, yarn under, pull the yarn through, so you have 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2. I'll show it again. Yarn under, pull up the 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2. Then again, yarn in the front loop, yarn under, pull it through 2 loops, one more in the front loop, yarn under, and pull it through. I know it's a little bit tricky and fiddly in the beginning, but once you know how to do it, it's actually quite easy, and you get like this pretty little border and still have those back loops to continue working in. And we do our crab stitch border all the way right until the end of our bottom part. So this was my last crab stitch. I hope you can see what it does. It basically pushes like everything a little bit down to create this really pretty pattern. I have no idea why this is called the crab stitch, but so what, it works for me, so that's all I need to know. And now I'm going to go to the back, because now I will then just take the loop and bring it to the back to then start with the main side and the waistcoat stitch. And for that I'm going to switch hooks. So I take my 4mm away and pick my 4.5mm, and now we are starting with the first round of our pattern, and it's an all blue round, so we are just going to make single crochets all the way before then stacking waistcoat stitches on top of it. But let's make our 64 single crochets, and as I mentioned before, we are only going to make them in our back loops, and from there we then just continue. If you make your single crochets, make sure to yarn over all the time when you grab the yarn, because if you don't do the yarn over, you don't get like the V's to later on work the waistcoat stitch in. So now that we have finished the first round of our sides, we can then start with our waistcoat stitches. And just as a reminder, the waistcoat stitch is worked basically in between the 2 single crochets right here. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to see the V's, so you can always orientate along these top parts. Here was the first, here's the second, and the next or the first waistcoat stitch is going to be placed right in between. And to do the invisible transition, we just keep the hook right there and take our yarn through like this, And now we are going to release the hook, and we will go into the second stitch, take our loop, put it over the hook, and take it through this top part of the stitch. You can also like push it a little bit together so that those two stitches up here are next to each other. And now we pick up our loop from the front. You can also drag on the yarn a little bit to like push everything more together like this. And now we have the two loops, and then we yarn over and just pull it through. So right here in the front we now have our first waistcoat stitch, and like this we continue. So I know this first round is going to be like a little bit fiddly until you have all those waistcoat stitches, but you will definitely get them. And I will meet you once we are at the end of the round to then also connect the red to start also the tulips. So I made it all the way through. I think the waistcoat stitches are a bit easier to see now. You can clearly see the V. And let's check the pattern. So depending on the hand you're working with, you either start from the left or from the right. Since I'm left-handed, I'm going to start from the left, and here we have 4 blue squares before we then have 7 red squares, and then again in the middle we have 9 blue all the way through. If you're right-handed, you of course start from the other side and do 4 in the end, or in the middle it's the same, but I'm sure you will have no problems following the patterns. So I'm going to start making the 4 blue waistcoat stitches, and I will also, once I made the invisible transition, then also add my red color. So we do it like we had it before. We take the loop out a little bit and then search for our first waistcoat stitch, yarn over and pull the yarn through. So now we have our loop here. Then we go into the second stitch from the beginning of the round, and we are now also going to take our loop. You can also drag on it a little bit to bring it through, just like this, and then release it, take the loop from the front and put it there to make our first waistcoat stitch. And I will now also grab my red. I'm just going to put it over my work and then search for the next waistcoat stitch, and just like that I incorporated the red, and here's the third, and then we have one more. And this fourth one, before we then start with the tulip, I'm going to make it a little bit different than in my previous waistcoat stitch tutorials, where we always finished the stitch with our main color. But since the tulips are a very solid visual, I will finish those red squares, or every red square that's followed by another red square, I'm going to finish it with the red. And like in this position right here, where the blue square follows the red square, I will then go back just like I have it here. I now have the 2 blue loops, and now I just take my red yarn and finish the stitch with the red yarn. And now we have 7 red stitches. So again, we go into the next waistcoat stitch. Now we have the blue yarn in the middle to incorporate it, and then finish it with the red. And we do this until we have 7. And for the last one, we are going to then switch again to our blue yarn. So now we have 4, 5, 6, and now comes the last one. So we yarn over and take the red yarn through, and then I'm going to put the red yarn in the middle of my work and close the stitch with the blue, and from there we can continue. Now we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 blue stitches. So again, we always go in our waistcoat stitch right in between the V's, and as I mentioned before, I think now it is like really easy to see where they are. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is the 9th. So we are going to finish it with our red color like this. And later on when we go back, so don't worry if you have like the red pieces a little bit visible right here. So when we then go to the next round, we will just push the red a little bit back. So you insert the hook underneath the red, and then with that the red is pushed a bit to the back, but this you will see then in the next rounds. But I think it's clear. Now we have again our 7 red waistcoat stitches. 1, 2, 3, and the last one we switch back to blue. And this is basically all you have to know for this pattern. What I'm going to do, and I also wrote it in the description, is that once I have my first repeat, the first 20 rounds done, and before I start with round 21, or while doing round 21, I will then just have the stitches right in between our tulips I will make just a chain and skip one waistcoat stitch just to have like um, some additional holes on the sides, just like we had it like in the bottom, so that later on you can put the yarn through as a yarn feeder or as a yarn bowl. But besides that, I'm going to follow along the pattern, and I will meet you once I'm at the end, to then maybe make a border or then just adding the handles. And of course I will show you how to make the handles. So see you in a bit. So I made my tulip pattern twice, and this is how it looks. Here again, the bottom with the holes to pull the yarn through. And here on the sides, I always have like these little holes where I can put the yarn through as well. And I think it looks super pretty and nice. I'm not sure what people will say when they see me walking around with this kind of a bag, but so what? I think it's super fun, it's super springy. And now we are going to finish the top of our bag, and in this next round I'm also going to add the D-rings, so later on we can then attach our handles. And this is what we do now. So we only have like one color left. There's still a bunch of yarn ends. I'm going to take care of them in the very end, and I'm not sure if I even show it to you how to sew them in, maybe for one, and then all the others it's your turn, but there's not too many of them, so it's not a big problem. So here the last round was our waistcoat stitch, and now we are just switching over to a regular single crochet. So we go in the top of our previous stitch, yarn over and pull it through. And once I'm here in the center, I'm going to add the D-ring in the 3 waistcoat stitches, or in the top of the 3 waistcoat stitches. But first, let's make those single crochets. So now we're at the point where we want to add the D-ring, and to do that we just put it over our hook, and then we go into the next stitch and make a single crochet just over the D hook like that to connect it. So again, we go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull it through, and connect the D hook. Also make sure to keep it a little bit tight. You can of course also use a smaller hook size, and in my case I think 3 stitches are enough, or maybe I add a 4th one just to be completely sure. So we go in there and make our single crochets around the D hook to incorporate it in a simple way. And now we just continue right until we reach the next point to connect the D-ring, and this is where I'll meet you. So here we are again on the other side. So take the D-ring on your hook and go into the first stitch and single crochet around it, then in the next single crochet and 2 more. Here's 1 and the 4th one, just like we had it on the other side. And then you can of course push the D-ring to the correct position, and from there we continue with single crochets. And once we reach the end, we are just going to connect in the very first single crochet with a slip stitch, and now we have our D-locks attached on both sides. Of course, you can easily add them on 4 sides if you want to, but that is completely up to you. So to finish it off, I'm going to just make another round of single crochets just to like lock everything a bit more together. Feel free to use a special border or something like this, because after this next round of single crochets I'm going to make another round of the crab stitch to have the same finish that I have here in the bottom. But that really is like an individual thing. You do as you want. I will just start by making my first round of single crochets, and then I will be back to show you again how the crab stitch works. And then we cut it and sew in all the yarn ends, and our cute little tulip yarn holder, yarn feeder bag is done. And here we are at the end, and now I just connect with a slip stitch, and as promised I will show you again how the crab stitch works. So you take the yarn needle and then you basically go back, yarn over, pull the yarn through, make sure you have both of the loops, and then do as if you would do a single crochet. The first one, or the first ones, are always a bit fiddly. Again, we go backwards, yarn under, pull the yarn through, and single crochet. Again, in the previous top of the single crochet, yarn under, pull it through both loops on the hook, and single crochet. One more, yarn under both of the loops. Make sure that you have 2 loops on your hook, and single crochet. And just like that I will continue all the way until the end, to then finish the bag. See you then. And for the last, I will just turn my work around and just connect it somewhere near the first one with just a slip stitch and then yarn over, and we can cut it, pull it through, and now the only thing left is of course taking care of all the yarn ends, and I will spare you all the minutes of yarning in those yarn ends. You will just know how to do that. So I'm going just in here, and it doesn't have to be like super accurate, just along the way in the back. And a few stitches backwards, and to be honest that shall do. And then just cut it, and the same we do with all the other yarn ends. So I will meet you back once I have all of my yarn ends taken care of, to show you the final tulip bag. So now I will show you how to make the handles, and I'm going to make the handles with Tunisian crochet. So this really is some sort of a hybrid project. And the reason is pretty simple. I absolutely love how handles look made with Tunisian crochet, and it's also not too wobbly, and it has like a very nice roll, so it rolls itself a little bit in to create something that I think is absolutely stunning and beautiful. I use those kind of handles for all of my phone bags, for example, or the mesh tote bag, and it's absolutely amazing. So this is what I'm going to do, and we will make it in a stitch that I don't even know what the stitch is called. But my friend Heather recently posted a video of her Eckard shawl, and she used the same stitch, and I thought, let's try this for my handles, and it worked beautifully, and especially since we can incorporate both of the colors. So we start again with our main color, and it doesn't matter if you use the 4.5 millimeter hook or the 4 millimeter hook. You just have to be sure that you have like a very straight hook to use, um, because with that you don't even have to use a Tunisian crochet hook, and you can easily do it with a regular straight crochet hook. I'm going to stick with the 4.5. And first we are going to make an I-cord of 6 stitches, which is then already enough for our handle width. And we start with a slip knot, and then we leave a little bit of yarn to the side, and then we take this yarn and wrap it around from the front, and then take the yarn that goes to your yarn ball or yarn skein and wrap it around from the back, and then push that last loop through the 2 loops on your hook. And we do this 5 more times, so the yarn end from the front and the other yarn from the back, and then pull it through until we have 6 I-cord stitches. One more, here we go. And now we can already turn to make our first Tunisian crochet round. The first loop is already on our hook, so we don't have to do anything. And then we go into the next stitch or into the next I-cord element, yarn over, pull the yarn through, keep it on your hook. Then we go into the next, yarn over, pull it through, and into the 4th, the 5th, and our last one. So now we should have 6 loops on our hook. So now we can start our return pass, and this is the typical return pass for Tunisian crochet. And this goes for all the future rounds. So we yarn over and pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And before we then do this for the last time, we can now also add our next color, in my case the red, and I just place it over my hook, and then I just pull that red loop through the 2 remaining loops to finish the round. And now we can continue with the next one, where we then work only with the red, and you can leave the blue behind. And what's important to know is that with Tunisian crochet you always have these vertical bars, and we are now going to work in those vertical bars, but always in a way that it's alternating. But I will show you. First we are going to pick up the first vertical bar, and we leave it as is. Then we go into the 3rd one, and here we are going to yarn over and pull the yarn through. So we have the red loop now on our hook. Then the next one we just pick up again, and the 3rd one we pick it up, or this was the 5th one, sorry, the 5th one. So now we have the red color on our hook, and now we go in our side loop or in our side stitch, and always make sure to grab both of the loops, then yarn over and pull it through. So now again we have our 6 loops again on the hook, and then we start our return pass. So we yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and before we then finish the round, we then go back to our first color, in my case the light blue, and yarn over and pull it through. So now for all the future rounds, you always have like alternating vertical bars, and when the round starts here like with the same color, we just yarn over and pull it through. If the next stitch, for example here, is a red vertical bar, we just pick it up and go into the next where we have the color that we actually that we are using right now. And if that's the case, we then make the yarn over and pull it through. Then again we have a red one, so we just pick it up, and now we are already at the border, so we are just going to pick up our last stitch here on the side and yarn over and pull it through so that we have alternating colors here and alternating colors in the beginning. Again, we have our 6 loops on the hook, and we can then go back. So yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way until we have 2 loops left, and this is the case right now. And if we have the 2 loops, we then pick our red yarn again and pull it through. And here you can see blue, red, blue, and here we also have blue, red, and blue. So now here you can see we have blue, red, blue, red, blue. So the blue we just pick up, because in the red round we are only going to work the red loops, and then we go to the red loop or to the red bar and yarn over and pull it through. Then again we pick up the blue, we move to the next red one and pull it through, and then we are already at the corner, so we just pick it up and make our return pass. I think when you have made a few rounds, the pattern gets visible a little bit more. I know right now it looks a little bit weird and you don't really know what this is going to be, but I think, oh, in the camera it definitely shows. So we'll see once we made a few more rounds. And now I can pick up my blue yarn and finish the round. And then again here now we have as a first vertical bar a blue one, so we then work it, and then we have a red one, so we just pick it up, then we have a blue one, and then we just make basically a Tunisian simple stitch with it. Then we pick up the next red and then go into our corner and do our return pass until we have 2 left, and then we can pick up the red and start the next round. And I think you can already see what is happening. A beautiful pattern. So I will just make 1 or 2 more rounds, and then we are also going to incorporate the hook or the clip to it. So again, here's a blue one, so we just pick it up. Here's the red one, so we just make the Tunisian simple stitch. Then we pick up the next blue, we take the red and work our stitch in, and then we go into our corner or border, and then the return pass, until we have 2, and then pick up the blue color. Then again, here we start with a blue, so we work our Tunisian simple stitch. We pick up the red, go into the next blue one, pick up the next red, and we're at the corner. So once you got this going, I think it's like pretty easy, especially also with the 2 colors. And you get such a beautiful, super cool pattern. I will make one more, and then we are going to basically Tunisian crochet this around this lobster lock on the go. I hope it works. I haven't tried it actually, so we'll see. So again, here's the blue, we pick it up and then go to the next red and make our stitch, and then the same here, and then the border, and then switch again to blue. So now what I want to do is to basically wrap this around. Let's see how we can do this. First I will then just put those 2 through, and then I will put my lower part through as well. Just like that. And now I will take this up so we can work like basically in the reverse part of our starting round. And let's make sure that the red is right here. So now what I'm going to do is to like pick up the first stitch, and I will also try to take the stitch from the back and then pick up the next red, pick up the next blue, move it around, and this was the last, this was the second to last, here it is. Like that, and then we have the red, and then we have the border. So I will then just take the border from here as well. Let's see, now I'm stuck somewhere. Here we go. And then yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And once we have our last color right here, I'm going to just pick the red, and here we go. And just like that, we connected the sides, and I will then just continue connecting. So now we pick up the next blue one. Now we have a red one, so I will turn around again and pick up a stitch from the beginning, and then pick up the first blue, then the red, turn it again to get like one of the I-cord stitches, and then we go into our corner, and this one is right here, and maybe we just take this with us one last time, and then yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two, 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 and then again switch to blue. And now we can also then move on regularly. So we connected the two parts around our lock. So sorry if this was a little bit freestyle. Sometimes I just have things in my head and then just do them. So if you want to see it again, make sure to go back. But anyway, you can also just make the handle and then just connect it later on to the lock. I just wanted to see if there's an opportunity to do it in one go, and apparently it does work. So do as you wish, and basically that's all. Once you have the length of your handle, then you just finish it. I will show you then how to, and then also of course incorporate the other part to the back, because on the other side of this you will also have the lobster hook, and then you can later on attach it to the back, of course, like this. And you can have different sizes of handles. As I mentioned before, I will definitely make one handle for the wrist and a longer one for over the shoulder, but of course that's absolutely optional. So have fun making those handles. I'm going to make two and I will see you once I have mine done, and then I will show you how to add the lobster hook on the other side. Unfortunately, probably not on the go, so we will then just sew it together, but oh well. Can't do everything. But doesn't this look so pretty with this pattern? I'm absolutely in love. Now the beginning or the end here doesn't look super pretty, but everything else does. So have fun, and I'll meet you once I'm at the next step of this tutorial. Bye! So once you have the size of your handle, it's time to add another lobster lock at the end. And we are going to just finish it the same way that we usually would finish Tunisian crochet. We chain one, and then we go underneath our first bar, yarn over, pull it through, and basically a slip stitch, and the same with all of the following. And you just pick one of the colors, it doesn't matter which one. We just need to finish the round. And here's our last one. So yarn over, pull it through, and to secure everything we chain one again, and then we can cut off both of the yarns, pull the yarn through, and now I just take my second lobster lock. I'm going to make sure, of course, that it is not twisted, so it matches to the other lobster lock, and I will just put it through the hole, take the yarn ends, and now I grab my yarn needle and now I will just sew it in. Usually I go into the same place like here where we have like the same matching colors, and then I would start by going underneath and then through the stitch and then going stitch by stitch just to connect the two pieces. And of course to incorporate the lobster lock. And here in the end. And now we can take both yarn ends and make a double knot to secure everything. Like that. And now what I also do, just to emphasize on the rolling of the handle, is I take back this yarn end right here and I'm just going to go through one of the stitches on the other side, leave a loop like that, and then just go through and pull it together, just so that it creates a little bit of a rounding as well. And now I'm just going to sew the yarn ends in. You can also take them to the inside and hide them in there. I mean, there's plenty of fabric in there, so it should definitely hold. And the same thing I'm going to do with the red, and then we can cut it, and our handles are already done. So I'm just going through this bulk of Tunisian crochet just to keep everything in there. And to the inside, making sure to go through some of those stitches. And we cut it and like that your handle is done. As I mentioned, I'm going to do 2 handles, one small one and a bigger one to wear it over the shoulder. I think they look absolutely beautiful, like little snakes, but the nice kind of snakes, of course. And here we go, the tulip yarn bag, yarn holder, feeder bag is done. Here I have my little handle, so I can then wear it over my wrist, then to just work out of the yarn that's in my bag. And of course I also have the large handle to wear it over the shoulder. And I think it's absolutely fun and pretty. So when you have like a yarn, let's say you have a yarn skein like this, and you already have it to the center, you can of course easily place it in there like this, and then just work out from the top, or you just take the yarn through the opening on the side like that, and then you can easily work from there. Or how I will most probably use it if I only use one single color. I will just take this and push it somewhere in the bottom. It doesn't have to be in the center. And then I will just place the yarn skein in, and then I will just feed myself the yarn from the bottom the way I need it and have this hanging somewhere. It's, I think, such a super practical piece. You can, of course, use different colors, different designs. Also make sure to download the PDF from the description where you will find more patterns like the little duck or the hearts. So you can really be free with this, and of course add like whatever border you like. Here's again the crab stitch because I think that's quite a nice finish, also adding up to our bottom. And the back is even standing, and then you can just take the yarn out as you want to. Have fun making it and see me back again at the beach. So what do you think of my super fun yarn holder, yarn feeder bag? I think it's absolutely adorable. People will give me so many looks when they see me walking around with this, but I hope the looks are the good one. I will most probably make 2 or 3 more of them because I just think they're super practical and you can use them for so many different things, especially for traveling to the beach. So thank you so much for watching. Happy crocheting this super beautiful yarn holder bag, or use any of the other patterns that I shared with you in the PDF to make something special for yourself. Unfortunately, this holiday is about to be over, but I'm so happy that I could share with you some beach time with me, either in my tutorials or in Crochet in Places. So thank you so much for watching. I hope I will see you back again next time, only at the Totally Fierce Crochet channel, probably not at 8:30 in the morning from the beach. Unfortunately, I would do it every time if I could, but either way, we will see each other very soon. Happy crocheting. Bye. Greetings from the beach. And have fun with this cute bag. See, I can wear it easily on myself. So of course I'm going to take you once more to the beach. You will most probably see the beach again in my next Crochet in Places. And I mean, this is like the morning hour. No tourists, or almost no tourists, just locals. And it's just stunning. It's so relaxing, so beautiful. I mean, check this out. And the best thing is, I now have my hands free because my yarn and my crochet is in the bag. Absolutely amazing. Let's check out some beach views. Good morning from the beach. There's even a little boat. Let's go over to the other side. I mean, life couldn't get any better than this. If you want to make me a gift me a house at the beach so I can live there. So walking a bit against the sun is always great for your tan. And it just came from walking and crocheting. So get the perfect tan with crochet. This should be my next video. So thank you again for watching and bye.